no completion. Hello, and welcome to the Two Consoles Too Late podcast. I'm the host, Jackson Keebler, and I am Two Consoles Too Late. What does that mean? Here at this podcast, we look at the classics and the not-so-classics of retro gaming, often for the very first time, and with no built-in nostalgia. And this episode is a year in review, a look at 2025, the games I played, the things I acquired, and whatnot. So anyway, let's just jump right into this. It's going to be lots of fun, and we're going to start with, of course, Going Long.
Going long. It is going long. Looking long. Going long. It is going long. Looking long.
All right, so this Going Long is going to be sort of a 2025 year in review of the PS1 Long Box collection, which started this past June. So every Saturday I've been live streaming these games over at youtube.com/2consoles2late. And last week I live streamed Cyberspeed, which I was expecting to be a little bit like Wipeout, but sort of like a poor man's Wipeout. And that's exactly pretty much what it was. But unfortunately I deleted the live stream and it is lost to the ages. And I also ended up deleting NHL Face Off. So those two live streams are gone. They'll never be seen again. I don't have backup copies of those. So anyway, and I didn't do a live stream this past Saturday. I just wasn't feeling it. I've been staying up late watching Silicon Valley, which is a strange little comedy about tech startups. That's been sort of piquing my interest. So anyway, but for the most part, Saturday over at the YouTubes, I live stream a game from the PS1 Long Box collection. Now, what have I acquired? For my birthday, I just randomly picked Shockwave Assault. And I'm sitting here like kind of racking my brain, like, why did I pick that one? I'm not sure if I saw a social media post about it or whatnot. But I just randomly just picked Shockwave Assault. So that one has been added to the collection. It's in pretty good nick. But I also acquired a lot of 5 PS1 Long Box games. And it's games that I already have. It's 2 copies of NHL Face Off, a copy of NBA Shootout, and a copy of Air Combat and Descent. So I picked it up, so I got a better condition copy of Air Combat and a better condition copy of Descent. So all the duplicates and my copy of Descent and my copy of Air Combat, I'm just going to throw them on the eBays and just try to recoup some of my costs for picking up this lot of 5 games. But in the pipeline on the Shop Goodwills right now is Loaded and Bust-A-Move 2. Loaded right now is I think it's at $36, and Bust-A-Move 2, not 1, that's at $10, and those are coming from the Goodwill of North Georgia. So hopefully I can pick those up and combine a little bit of shipping. There was a copy of Resident Evil. I don't know. I think that went for like 130 something. So once again, I'm yet to add that banger to the collection. And there's a couple more games. There's actually a lot of long box games on the Shop Goodwills right now, but Loaded and Bust-A-Move 2 are the only ones that I have current bids on. But after 6 months of collecting PS1 long box games, I am up to 27 games, and they are all in protective sleeves except for 2. Very important that I got those protective sleeves. So 2026, the PS1 long box collection will continue. You can hear all about it here on the podcast and over at the Patreon. Patreon.com/2consoles2late on the bonus podcast of Going Long. So being a wrap up of 2025, I always do a game of the year. But there's a certain video game that is definitely not going to be game of the year. But but it was highly anticipated. Metroid Prime 4. I went into that game with very low expectations, and those expectations were completely met. I could do a whole podcast, and I might do a whole podcast over at the Patreon, at patreon.com/2consoles2late, talking about my impressions of the game. But I'm just going to hit the bullet points here. I knew that game was never going to be as good as Metroid Prime 1 or 2. It's just, those are benchmarks that I just knew that they could never hit. And right away, when you start seeing, a motorcycle and some sort of like desert open world dynamic, I just knew, okay, that's a red flag. And then you have all these NPCs, more than one, less than 5. That was another red flag. Visually, stunning. And I was playing on Switch. I was not playing on Switch 2. I'm sure it looks even better on Switch 2. I'm sure I know that the load times on Switch 2 are way faster than they were on Switch 1, because there were a couple times where I could just get up, go to the bathroom, and come back, and the game would still be loading whatever level I was getting to. But visually, awesome. An example is you get to this factory level. It's called Volt Forge. It's where they create the Viola motorcycle that Samus is seen riding. That is completely visually stunning. The music for it is wonderful. So that's one of the saving graces I found in Metroid Prime 4. Retro Studios just had a lot of swings and misses with this game. And, in defense of them, I don't think they had enough time. I think they were given a project late in the game from Nintendo. Nintendo said, okay, here it is. Try to make it better than what we had. And they tried. And it's just, like I said, it's never going to be as good as Metroid Prime 1 or 2. But I think what this Prime game does is bring the Metroid franchise to a newer generation. I'm seeing online on the Metroid the Facebook groups. A lot of people are going back and playing Prime and playing Prime 2 for the very first time, and being very surprised by those games, and then seeing how different they are from Metroid Prime 4. But I think it sold something like 3 million copies, so I would call it successful from a sales point. But as a fan of the Metroid series, I just knew that this was not going to be a big one for the franchise. But it's funny, after all this, I'd like to see like a documentary made of like what exactly happened. Going back all the way from, let's say, 2017 to E3 to now. Like what were the hiccups and what happened behind the scenes with that game? I think that would be really interesting to see. However, I don't think Nintendo would allow that. So anyway, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I finished it 100%, 21 hours on casual difficulty. Probably going to go back and play it on normal difficulty, bring that time down a little bit, and give it a second look. All right, so if you recognize this music, then you know that Game of the Year for 2025 here at Two Consoles Too Late is Wipeout. Yes. Why this game? Because I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot. And that, for me, is the wheelhouse of Two Consoles Too Late. What did I learn? I learned that you could link two PS1s together, depending on the model, and you could have two-player action in Wipeout. Didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that the Negicon controller existed. A very odd controller from Namco that helped me greatly when playing Wipeout. And a wonderful soundtrack that made me listen to a lot of electronic music that I would never normally listen to. I was listening to electronic music pretty heavy there for about 2 weeks. So anyway, yeah, the Wipeout franchise is just now on the radar. I'm definitely looking to pick up a copy of Wipeout XL That's the sequel here in the States. And Wipeout Fusion for PS2. I've seen a couple copies, and I've kind of been scratching my chin about getting that one. But when it comes to talking about Wipeout XL, I'm going to talk about that later because 2026 is going to be an interesting year here at the podcast of Two Consoles Too Late. But I don't want to give it away just yet. It's not often I get guests here on the podcast, but when I do, I thoroughly enjoy talking with them. And 2025 was no different. The guest list this year was a little short, but it is what it is. The guest for 2025, I talked with Adam Blank from the retro video game podcast Remember the Game, one of the highest rated retro video game podcasts on Apple and Spotify. We had a discussion about Paperboy for the NES. That was absolutely wonderful. I talked with Nick from the YouTube channel Super Nintendo, talking about retronomics and the video game collecting market. That was a joy. Also got to talk a little bit about golf. You can check that out over on the Patreon. We're both a bunch of duffers, which was fun. And I got to talk to Mike from the YouTube channel Dongled, and we talked about the 16-bit Castlevania games. 2025 saw the addition of two consoles here at the podcast of Two Consoles Too Late. One is, I guess, retro, and one is not. I acquired a Sega Dreamcast from a local estate sales company, and I didn't play the usual heavy hitters for the Sega Dreamcast. I only played Shadow Man, Draconis Cult of the Worm, and Silver. I also have some football game, and I acquired Rainbow Six. And so now that I had the Dreamcast and that's an option, it was fun getting my hands on a different controller. However, I think my choices in games for the Dreamcast was rather poor. But as I was playing my Dreamcast, I kept looking over at the bastard stepbrother of the Sega Dreamcast, the Sega Saturn, which is just collecting dust on my entertainment center. So I'm going to blow the dust off that and play some racing games for that, which will be an episode in 2026. I'll be playing Virtual Racing, Sega Rally, and Daytona. Yes. Just kind of talk about I would call those iconic racing games, especially from Sega. But another console that I acquired in 2025, which I would say detracted from the podcast, was I acquired a PS4. And a lot of time was sunk into some PS4 games. Red Dead Redemption, Days Gone, the spiritual successor to Siphon Filter, Fallout 4, Death Stranding, and Cyberpunk. So it's nice to have a PS4 and have an option to play modern games, but a lot of my gameplay in 2025 was actually on the PS4 and not retro titles. So I did acquire some consoles. The one console I did want to acquire, which I have not, is a TurboGrafx 16. But I recently installed an emulator on my Wii, and I'm now able to emulate TurboGrafx 16 games. So I've been playing some Newtopia, which is a Zelda clone, and I played some Blazing Lasers, a fun little shoot 'em up that is known on the TurboGrafx 16. So 2026, I'm going to be talking about some TurboGrafx 16 games, which will be fun. So 2026 here at the podcast is going to be what I'm calling the year of the sequel. Now, why is it the year of the sequel? Well, I shall tell you. A lot of the games that I've played here at the podcast, I hear that the sequel is better than the first. And I now have a rather large list of games that I want to play that are sequels that are supposedly better than the first. So, in no particular order, I have this list, and I'm just going to go through them of games that will be featured in 2026 that are sequels to games that I've already featured. The first one, if we're going alphabetically, Assassin's Creed 2. I heard that Assassin's Creed 2 sort of ironed out some of the things in Assassin's Creed that I did not like. So I already have a copy of that. I picked up a copy of that. I think I picked it up at like the yard sale for like $5 or something. So I'm going to start playing that. A lot of them were actually on this list were games of the year here at Two Consoles Too Late. In 2023, the game of the year was Hollow Knight. And the long-awaited sequel, Silksong, has just been released. Now, I haven't started playing that because I'm waiting for a physical copy. That's just me. I actually want to have a copy in my hand. So I think that's going to get a January release. So Silksong is a sequel to the much-loved Hollow Knight. I was talking with my brother-in-law who was playing it, and he had some good things to say. So I'm excited to get my hands on Silksong. Game of the year in 2024 was Axiom Verge, a Metroidvania that really, for me, just, it wasn't quote-unquote retro, but it was definitely rooted in retro video gaming. So I have a copy of Axiom Verge 2. I actually started playing it, but I didn't get very far with it. And so I want to sit down and play that one. And then, of course, game of the year here at the podcast is Wipeout. So I want to play Wipeout XL and kind of see what changed in Wipeout XL. So other games that have sequels that I really want to get my hands on, Silent Hill 2. I recently played my first survival horror game this year. Silent Hill 2 was it was interesting, it was different, but I hear so much that Silent Hill 2 is way better. It just got a release on the PS5. I will not be playing it on the PS5. I will be playing it on my PS3 because I can't afford a $250 video game. And if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I'm going to get a long box game. So Silent Hill 2 is on the list. Metal Gear Solid Sons of Liberty. I bought a lot of PlayStation 2 games at a yard sale, and that game was in the lot. And so I'm curious to play that game. Once again, not a fan of stealth action, but I just kind of want to see where the franchise goes with that whole thing. And this is a weird one. 007 Nightfire. 007 Nightfire was actually a sequel to Agent Under Fire. And I talked about 007 James Bond video games here on the podcast. So I'm looking to have a good old sit down with 007 Nightfire. But 2026 is going to be the year of the sequel. So a lot of games with a lot of sequels. And I'm curious to see how they differ from their original predecessors.
Auction alert.
So for the last auction alert of 2025 is actually, I'm featuring a sold listing. And this came from the Goodwill of the Northern Rocky Mountains, Boise, Idaho. I picked this up not because of the games, but because of it came with a Jigsaw collector's map. Yes, it is the Elder Scrolls Collector's Lot Anthology and Skyrim map puzzle. There was only 7 bids on this auction. I won the auction for $44. But it's a funny little collection. It includes all the Elder Scrolls games. And I featured Elder Scrolls Oblivion after the remaster came out. And I think I talked briefly about the games that came before that. And I've talked about how Skyrim has sort of been on the radar since playing Breath of the Wild. So anyway, they're all the PC copies of the game. So that's, what is it? It's Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, and then it's Oblivion, Game of the Year Edition, and then Skyrim. So I have all the games now for the PC, which kind of works out because I just acquired an all-in-one PC, and it's a Hewlett-Packard. But I'm not sure when the rubber meets the road how well it's going to run these games. Because it's been a while since I did some PC gaming. But I'm more excited about this jigsaw puzzle of Skyrim because I'm a huge map nut. But anyway, I acquired all the Elder Scrolls Oblivion games, which are all RPGs. Apparently some good, some bad, but I'm curious to get my hands on those. And I look forward to putting together this puzzle and add it to my fantasy puzzle collection because I've got Hyrule, Breath of the Wild, and then I've got Lord of the Rings. So I also have Harry Potter. I'm not sure if that counts, but we'll throw that one in there as well. So featuring a sold listing acquired here at the podcast, I now have all the Elder Scrolls games for PC. You know what game I forgot for the year of the sequel? Star Fox 2. A sequel that never got released, at least in physical form, and it was released on the SNES Mini. So I think I'll throw that one on the pile. If you know of a game sequel that you want me to feature on the podcast, drop me a comment. Maybe I'll get it up here. We'll see. But I doubt that I think the rubric is I have to have played the original, and somehow the sequel has to be better. And we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be a list that's in flux. Like many things here at Two Consoles Too Late. Nothing is written in stone. Now I'm thinking of all these games that I didn't add to the list. Now I'm thinking of The Adventure of Link, Zelda 2, a very divisive sequel. Wow, there's so many when you think about it. Alright, that's it. I'm done. 2025, I'm done with you. Bring on 2026. We've still got a week of 2025 left. And just heard that the guitars and the keyboards for The Cure died. Perry Beaumonte, also known as Teddy. He was on the Wish album and Wild Mood Swings. So rest in peace, Perry Beaumonte. Alright, that's enough. I'm out of here. I'm going to go play some more Metroid Prime 4, stupidly. You should go watch Fallout. I haven't even started watching Fallout. I got New Vegas. Is that a sequel? Is New Vegas a sequel to Fallout 3? I don't know. Question mark. Alright, I'm going to get out of here. As always, have a good one. I love you. Be kind to each other, and goodbye.